We have a big news story. I've alluded to this in the past because I have direct experience with this that I will talk about on the podcast. But it's being covered everywhere. This is on CNBC. This is on Yahoo. Everyone is sending me articles and links to this. And that is that thousands of fake job seekers are getting hired using AI tools. Fortune 500 companies are hiring them. There's craziness coming out of North Korea with thousands of North Koreans getting IT jobs that are using AI to fake everything. It's just insanity. And I have literally, I believe, direct experience with this story. So I'm going to break that all down. But Connor, give me your take. You've been posting about this on LinkedIn. What's the craziest thing about this story to you?
Yeah, so it's funny. So when I give like talks and work with a lot of companies and things like that, and I always right away talk about the danger, not dangers, but risks, real and perceived of AI, right? And that's purposeful because I'm about to go into, hey, here's how you use Copilot, here's how you use ChatGPT, whatever it is. So I want to kind of get that out of the way. But the very first thing I say, Jaden, is always, I'm like, there's going to be three risks I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about and number 2 and 3 are like hallucinations and data protection. But number 1, I start with, I'm like, look, deep fakes, right? Like voice cloning, something that sounds like Joe Biden's voice, something that looks exactly like a photo of whatever, and a video of this. And what I say to audience is always, listen, this feels like an existential threat, and I don't know how to fix it. If you know how to fix it, good on you, because we are all screwed, right? I mean, like this is the reality, and this is why I love the article came out with CNBC. Takes credit. That's where I saw it anyway. And I really see this as one of the biggest threats to AI. And guys, you know that I'm a huge AI optimist, right? But how do we get over this, right? So it's like fake job seekers with altered voices, appearances, and essentially, think about it, limitless knowledge, right? They're able to answer questions instantly. So they're on these screens and you're doing these things remotely. They've changed their appearance, they've changed their voice, and they have ChatGPT up. Even when, so I've seen these little clips where people are like, share your screen right now. And people will do it, but they have ChatGPT like on their phone. And so the ChatGPT will hear the question being asked, and then they'll just be like, you know what? That's a great question. So the way that I think about this, and by that time ChatGPT has answered the question, I just read it off, right? So Gartner, who's not known for they're known for pretty reliable research. They're guessing that by 2028, one in four, Jaden, people interviewing virtually could be fake. And the idea here is not just that they want a job. The much bigger danger, and Jaden, I'm dying to talk to you about this, is what if this person is from North Korea? What if they are from China? What if they're trying to infiltrate your company, get access to anything, put ransomware on a $10 billion company, and then they're off to the races, right? So this is a story that's worth talking about. This is a story that's happening now. How do we deal with this, Jaden? Talk to me.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple things. I guess the main points I'll say is that the new threat essentially is that they're using AI tools to generate fake photos, fake employment history. To do, of course, we've all seen the viral videos on TikTok and everywhere else where they're using AI to, like, it listens and it tells them the response to give, and they're kind of reading it off the side back to the interviewer. You mentioned 1 in 4 are going to be fake by 2028. That's according to Gartner. So, like, very reliable. And, like, what are they actually doing? So once they're hired, the reason why they're doing this, obviously they could get a job. So they're getting paid. So they're kind of getting paid by the company. So that's great. But they also, depending on what country they're from, it could be a spy or whatever. And they're essentially installing malware, and then they ask ransom from the company, or they steal all the customer data or the trade secrets, or in some cases, funds. We've had fake AI, like people use AI to clone the CEO of a company, do a Zoom call where it was the CEO of the company telling the CFO to transfer funds. They transferred the funds, and it was just a deep fake, and they ran away with the money. I think they might have stopped that. I think that was in Singapore. But anyways, this is what happened. Okay. So I want to talk about North Korea because I believe I have an experience with this. I probably talked about this in the past, but we also at the same time have Yahoo News and Fortune talking about the fact that thousands of North Korean IT workers are getting jobs at Fortune 500 companies. Now, obviously, there's sanctions against North Korea. These people legally can't get jobs, but they're able to forge things. How does this work? What does it look like? I'm going to bring you in to the inside of how this works. So recently, we are hiring developers for AI Box, my AI software company, and we're going through candidates. We had hundreds and hundreds of candidates apply for a job role doing some front-end development with React. In any case, I think we probably had like 450 candidates apply for this like one position in particular. And we were going through, we're trying to find everyone. Like you have to kind of, when you have that many people, you got to do some like broad things to narrow it down. So we were kind of narrowing it down, looking for people that had specific experience with like our very specific open source code for this one tool that we're going to be using for something we're doing. So anyways, there's a handful of candidates that had worked sort of around it, but there was one candidate that stood out as the cream of the crop, the absolute best candidate. It felt like their resume was specifically crafted for what we're needing. Their past job, they'd worked with this exact library. They'd manipulated it in all the same ways we needed them to. They worked on making it more efficient and sped up. And they said they could even demo us an example of what they did. We were like, oh my gosh, this person is literally perfect. And then we're like, hey, where are they from? And they're from Pennsylvania. It's like, man, this is awesome. It's literally Pennsylvania. The time zone isn't too crazy, right? If you hire someone from overseas, and the time zones can be a little bit difficult sometimes, unless they're willing to work on your time zone. Anyways, Pennsylvania, this is fantastic. My CTO does the interview, and I'm like, okay, how did the interview go? He said, it was almost too good, but it just seemed kind of weird. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, it's like really hard to understand the guy because he's got a very strong accent. I'm like, well, he's from Pennsylvania. I mean, like, how strong could it be? Did he move here? He's like, no, the guy said that he literally has lived in America his whole life. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm like, how was his code? He's like, it was amazing. The demo he showed me was like literally exactly what we need. He had done it in a previous project and he was ready to like roll it out for us. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but could you just like do a verifying interview to kind of like check in on this guy? Like, he like technically he seems perfect, but like it just seems weird because it's really hard to communicate with him. Okay, whatever that means. Hop on the call. Very, very strong. I would say, like, I don't actually know what a North Korean accent was. I would have said it was Chinese accent, but very, very strong Chinese accent, Mandarin accent for all intents and purposes. And I could hardly understand the guy. He's giving me a bit of his background. And when he was talking, he was saying something about when he went to school in South Korea. And I'm like, oh, okay, you went to school in South Korea. Because I'm like trying to figure out like, I'm like, okay, so like, where are you from? He's like, Pennsylvania. I've lived here my whole life. I'm like, okay, did your parents come from anywhere else? And he was like, yeah, no, we've always lived in Pennsylvania forever. And I'm like, okay, okay, you went to school in South Korea. Tell me about that. I was like, South Korea? Did I say South Korea? No, I didn't mean that. I've never been to South Korea my whole life. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. And I'm like 3 seconds ago, I swear he said the word Korea. And I thought, like, my brain wouldn't have just picked up North Korea. Like, that's not really my thought. Anyways, I'm like, okay, whatever. So very suspicious. Then my CTO's like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, I want to hire this guy because he seems perfect, but it's hard to trust him because his accent is very, very difficult to understand. And there's no way he's telling us the truth about that, which is like, if he's from somewhere else, that's cool. Just tell us, right? If you're talented, whatever. But I was like, I can't really trust him on because of this one issue. And my CTO does a follow-up interview. In the follow-up interview, he asked him to show him the code for the demo he showed. And he's like, oh, I don't have it on this computer. It's on my other computer. And he said for a split second, he switched cameras, and the camera that had like the virtual background turned off, and he saw like what he said was a warehouse with hundreds of people all on their computers tapping away. And then he's like, oh, sorry. And he like kind of turned it and switched the virtual thing back on, and then kind of like started showing some code from a different computer. What typically happens in these situations, because I researched it a ton after that, is they will have like some very talented developers that are sitting there helping create the demos, helping create the code, and also AI tools are helping them make these like amazing demos. So when they apply for a job, they go all out. They really want this job. They put sometimes multiple developers help build this, but they have one person that does the interview, typically whoever's best at English. That we did not get that with our North Korean. And then they'll show it off when they get hired for the job. For the first 2 weeks, they get 2 to 3 of their absolute best developers to do everything. Like, they are incredible. For 2 weeks, you are blown away. They get so much stuff done. It's incredible. And then after that, they drop off to just one of their best developers. And then after 2 weeks, they just give you some random guy that is going to just try to milk the company for money for as long as you can. And when you've seen them do incredible work for the first month, usually there's like an onboarding period where they're slow. But if you're getting incredible work for the first month, you're like, okay, maybe it's worth it. And they're like, oh, sorry, I had a family difficulty. Oh, sorry, I had this. They'll just kind of make excuses. They'll string you along. By 3 months in, if they're like in a big company, they'll just get buried and forgotten, and they're there forever, right? Because big companies like Google, if someone's not performing, well, they're going to put you on a PIP and we'll work it out and whatever. But in a small startup, even if they got fired, the goal is within the 3 months to try to steal any trade secrets, inject any backdoors, and try to find any vulnerabilities to extract capital from the company. They'll do one of those 3 things, And then if they get fired, they get fired. In a big company, they'll try to string it out because they can get a high paycheck for a long time. But yeah, that is how the North Korean infiltration system works.
This is my favorite podcast. I just like love. First of all, I love hearing Jaden's stories, but second of all, guys, like I love that we have firsthand experience on this podcast talking about how that works. And look, you may not be hiring any developers or anything like that, but just remember that this is how scams work in the AI era, right? It's almost impossible to tell. And again, think about not just you, but also your parents or your friends or your older, maybe your grandparents or something like that. These are folks that are 100% going to get scammed by this thing. There's no way. And Jane, I don't know how we stop it. I don't have any good ideas. This is where my optimism falls off a cliff. And I just hope that somehow these AI tools can find ways that, they'll sort of like put spam blockers on us or something like that, which they did, in the early days of the internet. So hopefully something, I don't know, maybe I'm just being like sort of like hopeful at this stage. But guys, this is unbelievable. First of all, love the story from Jaden. And second of all, just remember that you cannot trust what you see. And when you think like, oh, I can definitely hear it, not if people don't tell you that they're about to do an AI thing or something like that. So anyway, guys, Jaden, any positive words here just to sort of see us out? I feel like we're both
the last thing. Yeah, I know. The last thing to wrap up, to put everyone's minds at ease on this problem, is that I very clearly could tell something was fishy in this story, so we didn't move forward with the candidate. To put your mind at ease, if the candidate had been using an AI voice clone, like the ones that Google's been making, where when they talk, they just had a perfect English accent, I never would have known. I probably would have hired them and got scammed. So to put your minds at ease, it's only going to get worse from here on out.
Putting our mind at ease. That's only like freaking us out more. Listen, I think Jaden's right. It's only going to get worse. But Jaden, don't you think that maybe there's a way that they can start preventing this? I know we only have a minute left here, but do you think AI companies have the potential?
Yes. I think as it becomes more prevalent, we'll very quickly probably have some startups and some tools built into systems that will essentially, this is the crazy thing, I bet you could reverse engineer someone, for example, speaking in Korean, being translated to English and talking to you. I bet you could write some AI algorithms that will reverse engineer. So like if I'm talking to someone, just the way they're talking to you, if they sound perfectly normal to me, the words that they're saying could be a reverse engineered translation from X language, and it could give you a probability score on that. There's a lot of different clever things like that that you could do with the images as well. And you could probably run resumes through a filter as well, where it's like, this is my description and this is the resume I got. What are the likelihood that they used an AI to generate the resume? And I think like knowing what I know now, if something aligns too perfectly with what your needs are and your job descriptions, very likely that they just ran it through AI and told it to do that. So that makes sense. But I think that we'll get algorithms on these job seeking sites that will essentially flag those things. So that will come very shortly. It's going to be a cat and mouse game forever though, like to be 100% honest. But I think we could write some very clever AI algorithms that could sort through a lot of the spam.
All right. Sleep tight, everybody. We're going to be fine. We're going to get through this together. Thanks for joining us on AI Applied. As always, thanks to Jaden for these amazing stories. I could listen to them all day. But listen, if you have not yet left us a rating and review, guys, honestly, we would absolutely love it. I know that you're probably like, oh, next time, or I'm going to get to it. If we read all of them, it really means a lot to us. Like, we love doing this, but that just gives us so much joy. So if you care about that kind of thing, leave us a rating, leave us a review. We'd so appreciate it. And